Why, hello, wild world out there. Today we'll be discussing the raven. I actually had my cousin from Haida Gwaii. She recently sent me this wonderful card with a raven on it, up top a Christmas tree. And she wrote in here, I adore ravens. So I thought this would be such an amazing topic. And Dana, if you ever have an opportunity to see this, just know you're an amazing woman and I love you so much. So, ravens, if you've never seen one, they're quite huge. They're like flying lunch boxes and they gravitate to more northern climates. Actually, a white one was recently spotted in Kenai. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Kenai, Alaska. And there is a story, an indigenous story, that relates to the legend of the white raven. And I'll give a little summary. And then the story of the white raven, legend of the white raven, has to do with the great creator made the white raven to be kind of a peaceful creature amongst this new world. And he would fly above, but he wasn't able to land because if he landed on the ground, the soil itself would turn him black. So as this white raven flew above, the great creator decided to make him a great buffalo, a white buffalo that the raven could land on. And so this created a peace and harmony. The raven was able to land on the great white buffalo and he would not alter color. And it was harmonious with the humans of that time that they would kill some of the buffalo, but they would use everything of the buffalo and give praises to the great creator. Well, a new human came. This would probably be the Europeans. So the Europeans came and they unfortunately desecrated the buffalo and would leave their carcasses to rot. So what ended up happening is the great buffalo ended up getting killed. And this white raven could only fly and fly and fly. And he grew tired and weak and he landed upon the ground. And when the great white raven landed upon the ground, he ended up turning black. And so whenever there is a white raven that comes, so this white raven actually was recently spotted in July 14th of 2023, so very recent, that it's actually meant to represent from the great creator that there's great evil in the world and to rid the world of evil. So a very interesting story. So we're going to discuss the first strength of the raven, hyper intelligent. So what do we mean by hyper intelligent? Ravens actually have been studied and they're able to go through these massively intricate puzzles in order to receive the prize. My cousin actually wrote in her card, intelligent, tricky, and fun. Tease my dogs mercilessly. So that is a raven. They actually supposedly have a similar IQ to a 7-year-old and can communicate with humans in a way where wah, wah. They make these really interesting sounds and they'll puff up their feathers to their owners, for those that have pets, in order to get cuddles. I actually was working up in Fort Nelson, in this very distant lease site, and this raven would go to the back box of a truck. And in the back box, we had made a whole bunch of sandwiches because we were in the middle of a rig move. And the raven would swoop in, steal a sandwich, carefully peel the plastic off the saran wrap, and then pick the bread apart, would throw away the cheese, throw away the lettuce, and would take the meat and it would hide it in different places around the lease site. It was wild to see that they were so incredibly intelligent. I've never seen anything like it in my life. So, on to number 2 strength, family and traditions. So, family and traditions are extremely important to ravens. It's kind of like the dream wheel where everyone is interconnected and they want to remain unified. They definitely honor their elders. And I remember I used to work at a senior facility, and there was an Elizabeth Gray Eyes. Her family would not just come in once a week or once a month. They would come in every day. And it wasn't just one person, it was the whole family. And that was definitely a Raven mentality. And it's almost like they would have a daily celebration. They would bring a big feast like KFC, and they'd all enjoy it and share stories. And what I found astounding was they would share stories that would carry generationally. So it wasn't just that present time, but it was stories that, like almost like a folklore, where they would carry from past generations of stories that would carry on and flow through to the next generation. And they all partook in being unified together. So it was really beautiful to see. So I actually want to read something from Proverbs, Proverbs 30:17. The eye that mocks the father, that scorns an aged mother, be pecked out by ravens in the valley, will be eaten by the vultures. So ravens are actually sent to remind us of family, to remind us to be there for family, to remind us to care for our family, whether it be young or old, in good times, in troubled times. So the next strength is durable. So what I mean by ravens being durable, it's not that they don't feel pain or aches or sores. What I mean is they just keep on ticking. They can actually have pretty massive trials in life when it comes to various medications or getting slammed down or blood clots, and they keep getting up. They keep getting up, they keep enjoying life, they don't feel pity or sorry for themselves. They're very durable. I always think of ravens out in the middle of the cold and their feathers are ruffled and it's -20, -30, and they're still able to function perfectly. They seem to come out unscathed, whereas most people might feel down on themselves. They just keep on going. They keep on going with purpose. So a number 4 weakness or strength, sorry about that. Number 4 strength is the third eye. So the third eye, I personally don't have. So, so I had to do some research and read a lot of different literature. But from what I gathered, the third eye almost acts as a powerful guide. You're able to view the past, the present, and the future. So not only do you have discernment, but you're also prophetic and a messenger. I also related to Bran in Game of Thrones. He was a character that was called Greenseer. He was being mentored by a man called Bloodraven. And so the third eye was able to give him visions of the future and how it was going to be portrayed with different outcomes. And so the third eye obviously is it actually, the other day I saw a flock of ravens, and a flock of ravens is called the unkindness, which I had to think about that a lot. What would unkindness be when a flock of ravens? But the ravens aren't the ones who, say, murdered a moose. The ravens come after. And so they actually are the messengers of maybe good omens, but also bad omens, bad news that might be useful to humans to hear, whether that's family or friends. And it's not easy. It's not easy to have that gift. So it is a miraculous gift, but it's not easy to have and hone that gift. So, number 5 strength is a superpower. It's a surprise. So, the massive superpower is, oh, get this, you would assume it's the third eye, but it's actually having a lack of fear. No fear. It seems ravens to me, the spirit animal, has no fear. They can, like, literally just pack up and move to a foreign city like Paris, or they can attend university in, say, Norway, and they have no fear. they just they just go for it. It is incredible bravery. It's super impressive, especially for people like myself, where I like to feel comfortable and secure. Ravens, I think it's because they do hold that messenger mentality for humans, that they don't fear humans. They're not afraid. They're not afraid to get out there. They're not afraid to venture in the world. And yeah, it is extraordinary, extraordinary. And so next we're going to get into weaknesses. And so the first weakness is underestimate sinful nature. So, what does it mean when underestimate sinful nature? It means ravens, because they fly in the darkness, they have their third eye, they receive these visions, they have no fear. That means when humans show sinful nature or wickedness, it actually kind of takes them by surprise, because there's just, you almost become desensitized, or it has this feeling of normalcy, but it's not normal. And especially when it affects your life, maybe like when a friend or a family does something that you're kind of like taken aback, it's because you walk in that realm. And so because you walk in that realm, it's almost like you have this air of forgiveness for them. Um, yes, so number 2 weakness is physical insecurities. So, physical insecurities means that because ravens are so intelligent and analytical, they can recognize minute differences between themselves and others. And they unfortunately sometimes think that they're slightly inferior when it comes to their physical appearance. And that's just utter rubbish. Actually, everyone is beautiful in their own way and in their own right, and everyone can radiate in their own way, because you want to be unique, you want to feel different. And so I think sometimes ravens are looking across and like, oh, look at those beautiful songbirds. Ravens are just as majestic and just as mystic, the mysterious allure. So ravens should never feel that they're less than, especially even in terms of radiance and beauty. And so number 3 is lack of direction. So, what do I mean by lack of direction? Well, because ravens have such magical gifts when it comes to visions and their dreams, sometimes it can get really confusing because they can see literally alternate paths. And because of these alternate paths, they're almost like a compass that's spinning, but the compass doesn't know where north is. And as you get older, you're able to directly find north. But when you're young, it can be completely confusing, and it can create almost that spinning motion. And you can get lost. You can get lost in your thoughts and lost on where should I go from here. So I definitely recommend for those that are in that process to create vision walls. And vision walls are, you have a board, and upon the board you put pictures on there of things you want to achieve in life or future accomplishments. And that has helped me personally, but it may also help others so that it can actually harness the direction you want to head in, that north, that specified north. And for those of you that God, great creator, it actually can help you with deciphering with the Holy Spirit. For myself personally, the Holy Spirit on the direction that you want to head in, that would be bestow the best blessings. Okay, number 4. Trouble meeting life mate. So trouble meeting life mate for the spirit animal raven, I would never want to imply that they're not extraordinarily loving, because they are. They're loving, they're caring, they're patient, they love to give gifts. What I'm saying is because they have the third eye and the gift of visions of the future, prophecy, it can be very intimidating to their partner when they don't understand. When they have a partner that's not necessarily compatible as a seer, it can get really strained, because here the raven is open and this is who I am, and they're very stable in their presence. The other person might be a little put off, and they don't understand, and they aren't going to understand. It's kind of like for yourself, you have a hand, you have a foot, you have the third eye, right? Like, it just is. And it's not your fault, it's not their fault. But when you meet that person that is completely compatible and has that appreciation and that spiritual appreciation, then there is that harmony. Kind of like the great white raven and the great white buffalo. There's that harmony. Okay, and number 5 weakness is self-doubt. So funny enough, when I mention self-doubt, a lot of people will think automatically that ravens, when they feel self-doubt, it's inward, but it's actually outward. Ravens will self-doubt, have I done enough for my family and friends? Have I expressed love enough? Have I laughed enough? you know, so ravens are a definite special spirit animal where they want to shine light and radiate outwards to family, friends, and even acquaintances. And they're called the great healer. And so they're here for humans. They're here for humans to help heal them, to help them feel loved, help them feel positive about themselves, and they leave their feather marks on their hearts with everyone that they meet. And so I actually do want to go to my Bible, and this is 1 Kings 17, 2-6. Then the word of the Lord came to Elijah. Leave here, turn eastward, and hide in the Kerith ravine, east of the Jordan. You will drink from the brook, and I have directed the ravens to supply you with food there. So he did what the Lord had told him. He went to the Kerith ravine, east of the Jordan, and stayed there. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the brook. So there is a beautiful example of ravens being sent by God to help Elijah. Elijah was one of his prophets in the Old Testament, in order to help others, in order to help be the great healer. So I want to thank you today for joining us as we learned about the raven. And it was such a joy, a precious joy to learn about the raven. So be at peace and find joy in all things.